Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, episode 392, or episode 22 in the Do Not Be Hasty Reckoning. I'm calling this one Sam's Grand Entrance. In this episode, we conclude our journey through Lord of the Rings, Book 1, Chapter 2, The Shadow of the Past. Greta, introducing you.
Me.
Hello.
Introducing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not new here, but you're just welcoming me.
I'm introducing you for this episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing me so nicely.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank
my
you very
pleasure.
much.
Yeah. It's exciting to be finishing up a second chapter.
Another chapter.
Yeah.
2 down, almost down, and like 58 more to go. So this one only took us, 2 chapters. It only took us like maybe 6 months. So,
Really? I was gonna ask you. Like, do you know?
I think we started back in, it was definitely this year in 2024. So anyway.
Yeah, I didn't think it was quite that long, but
Yeah.
Anyway, I was wondering how many episodes it took us to get through 2 chapters. You don't know off the top of your head, though?
Oh, how many episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it took, I think it was, this one is 11, I think.
Oh.
Well, so we're on episode 22, right? So episode 22 of the Do Not Be
okay.
Hasty Reckoning. So that includes, of course, the Mailbag and Matham's episodes.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And I've actually done some other episodes that are just on the prologue and the foreword, which I didn't wrangle you into.
I
So that might be
appreciate
a little bit of a snooze fest for you.
Don't take much to put me to sleep. So that was probably a good call.
All right, before we begin, we'd like to give a double up air 5 to our amazing fellowship. Stick 'em up, fellowship. 3, 2, 1. Whoopsh. Nice. Special thanks to this episode's executive producers, Caitlin of Tea with Tolkien, John R., KG, and Erendil Hope. Also, a shout out to those celebrating their fellowship anniversary in September of 2024, Alan C., Stephanie B., Dustin Q., and Robert S.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
so much for
Yes.
sticking with us over the years.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode of Do Not Be Hasty, we conclude our journey through the Shadow of the Past as Frodo decides on his course of action and finds himself with a surprise traveling companion. This section begins with the words, "There was a long silence," and ends with the end of the chapter. This section takes place on April 13th of the Third Age 3018, or Shire Reckoning 1418. We pick up in medias res from the last section as Frodo ponders the momentous decision before him. All right. We'll start off by reading the first paragraph of this chapter. So, Greta, do you want to do the honors, starting with "There was a long silence" right there?
There was a long silence.
Oops. There was a long silence. There we go.
There was a long silence. Gandalf sat down again and puffed at his pipe as if lost in thought. His eyes seemed closed, but under the lids he was watching Frodo intently. Frodo gazed fixedly at the red embers of the hearth until they filled all his vision, and he seemed to be looking down into profound wells of fire. He was thinking of the fabled cracks of doom and the terror of the fiery mountain.
Yeah, what is it about a nice fire and a some kind of smoking apparatus that is so so inviting, like mesmerizing, invites you just to gaze into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, especially like the embers.
Yeah, the glowing embers.
Yeah. It is. It's interesting. Like I don't know if it's just the glow or the crackling. It is. It's a special thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of its own beating heart, it's in a way like it's I don't know, there's something, even though everything within this fire is, presumably dead, right? There's, or at least inanimate. There's something like the fire itself has its sort of life to it,
Yeah.
its own sort of life to it.
Yep.
So, yep, they sit beside the fire and think. And finally, Gandalf says, "What are you thinking about? Have you decided what to do?" And it turns out Frodo hasn't really, but he's kind of like, I guess I just need to kind of hang on to the ring and guard it. Maybe just keep it secret, keep it safe, as you've said to me before. Mm-hmm. Gandalf's kind of like, okay, I'm not really sure how that'll work out for you, but that's better than, giving it to me or something like that, which we covered in the last episode, of course. Mm-hmm. and Frodo's really hoping that Gandalf's going to find somebody else to take the ring eventually, right? Not that he's gonna go on this grand quest. And I think it's really interesting what Frodo says here about the Shire, right? It's kind of surprising in a way. I'm going to read this. I should like to save the Shire if I could, though there have been times when I thought the inhabitants too stupid and dull for words and have felt that an earthquake or an invasion of dragons might be good for them. But I don't feel like that now. I feel that as long as the Shire lies behind, safe and comfortable, I shall find wandering more bearable. I shall know that somewhere there is a firm foothold, even if my feet cannot stand there again. So Frodo is pondering all of this, and in the midst, what he needs to do, and in the midst of all this, he kind of considers the Shire, and it's kind of humorous to hear him remark about the Shire, like it's like sometimes I feel like the people in the Shire are just a bunch of dimwits and everything like that, and but then again, like I love this place, and if I'm out wandering, if I have to go on this mission, it'll be nice to know that there's still kind of this landing place here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to consider that this probably sets up, one of the most, I think, spiritually interesting outcomes of the whole Lord of the Rings, which is, that we get to the end of the story and Frodo comes back and he's never really able to really be at home in the Shire anymore after this great mission.
Yeah, there's some irony there, huh?
Yeah.
I was, I think his, I think this reflection here is just, it's really beautiful. And that, it's almost, it makes me think of that thing I feel like I say all the time. It's like sometimes, as much as I love to travel, sometimes my favorite thing of traveling is coming home because there's comfort in it. You're like, okay, like I love that he says, I shall know that somewhere there is a firm foothold, even if my feet cannot stand there again. Like, it's there, right? And just knowing it's there, that there's a safety net of sorts, a place that you belong, right? A place that's home for you. There's some real comfort in that.
Yeah, 100%. I think, there's a reason that there's so many songs about going home, and because there's really no sort of situation like it, right? And like I think for all of us, we sense that there's something to this life about a great journey, but ultimately arriving back home, right? The thing is, like the home may not actually change, but the transformation that like we're transformed in the process by by the journey. So anyway, it is a beautiful little thought, as well as what he says about Bilbo afterward, right? In this kind of idea that like, I thought that I'd like to go wandering and that kind of thing even before all of this, but I envisioned it as kind of a holiday. He had a desire to like kind of follow and to go find Bilbo and that kind of thing. And now here he has this like grand reason to go on this journey, but it's not really what he envisioned it as,
Right.
I suppose I must go alone if I'm to do that and save the Shire. A flight from danger into danger, drawing it after me. And in the end, he just feels totally small and uprooted. The enemy is so strong and terrible.
Yeah, you really feel for Frodo, I think, here, because he's like, yeah, I would love to follow in Bilbo's footsteps and have some adventures, but he says I would have liked, he wants those to end in peace, right? Again, it's that idea of like traveling and then the comfort of coming home, right? Like just being able to let your breath out and relax and settle back in, you know? But here he realizes that this is not the kind of mission or kind of adventure that he had envisioned, that this is going to be something really scary.
Yeah.
And not even an escape. Like he says, I'm going to be drawing the evil after me. So he's like, I'm very impressed with Frodo's, with his like he seems very wise in this moment. Like he knows exactly what he's in for by accepting this this charge. And I don't know if that's because Gandalf has done such a great job of kind of informing him and educating him. But it almost seems a little inspired. Like it seems like there's something within him that even Gandalf couldn't have told him, that he just senses like, wow, like this could be it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I want to do it, but man, like I don't know that I'm capable.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and what we considered in the last episode of why was Frodo chosen, for this, I think we see some of that in like his response to this, right? It's not like bring Sauron on, I'll go take him on, I'll take this ring all the way there, right? It's kind of like it's not the opposite either of like, oh, I'm scared and I wish I wasn't chosen and I don't want to do this and I refuse to do it, right? It's kind of like I don't want to do this, but I kind of feel like I have to, like there's no, like it's the right thing to do,
Right. Exactly. The chosen is being asked to make a choice.
Yeah.
And he's, it sounds like he's definitely on the way to making not the safe choice.
Right.
But the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the next passage I'll read from here, we kind of get a little more insight on this whole question of like, what is it about Frodo? And again, like, it's funny because Gandalf did say like, well, it's not really because you're anything special. But then it's like when Gandalf really ponders it, he's like, wait a minute, like you do have certain qualities that actually, make you a fit for this role, right? For this, for this mission, right? He says, my dear Frodo, hobbits really are amazing creatures, as I have said before. You can learn all that there is to know about their ways in a month, and yet after 100 years, they can still surprise you at a pinch. I hardly expected to get such an answer, not even from you. But Bilbo made no mistake in choosing his heir, though he little thought how important it would prove. And he says the rings they can't stay hidden in the Shire much longer. It's just not going to, it's not going to work out to do it that way. But Gandalf is, and first of all, he's like, we see this idea that like the hobbits in general, of course it would be somebody from among them, right, that ultimately is chosen for this mission. But then ultimately there's like, he says like Bilbo made no mistake in choosing his heir. Like Bilbo chose you for a reason, and he didn't choose you for this mission, but he chose you to be the one who would receive this ring, right? Not knowing the greater consequences of it, but nevertheless he chose you for a reason, right? He, like, Bilbo has good judgment, and had exceedingly good judgment in this consideration. So it's like all of these little events happened and added up. Some decisions based on Frodo's character, others that may not have been, that may just have been seeming coincidence, kind of like added up to here he is in this moment. And it's like an orchestration of you being chosen for this, right? Like, and it's really like when we consider that, it's like, well, who chose you, right? And that's the big question, right? And ultimately, we kind of have to come back to like Eru chose him, right? Yeah. Eru chose him for this mission, right? And that's the unspoken truth of it. But it really speaks to the nature of being chosen for any moment we're in our lives, because we never understand the reasons that God puts us in certain situations. We don't get any in rare cases does someone get like that voice from on high that tells them like, you shall do this. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, when people get that voice from on high, it's a misguided. It's either not real or it's a misguiding. But sometimes we're just like stumbling along, feeling our way in the dark, and it's just like, here I am. I guess this is what, and people will call it fate, but I think it's the same thing. Like, like this is what fate has in store for me, right? I'm going to do what I have to do.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So true. And it's just, just kind of brings home that point that there are no accidents, right? I mean, this has been the plan from, eons ago, right? Yeah. For Frodo to end up with this ring. And it's, we can make ourselves crazy asking ourselves why. And, like trying to find the answer to that question. But at the end of the day, it's just, you're like, it was you, and you can either fight it or you can embrace it.
The name here that Gandalf gives him, right? So that he can go, so he can be, he can go and kind of disguise, right? When you go as Mr. Underhill, it's like wink, wink, the guy who lives under the hill. And I was just, this is funny to me, but like, when I was a kid growing up, our neighbors behind us, their last name was Underhill. Which the irony there is that they actually lived on, like we kind of lived on the side of a hill, and they lived up higher than us on the hill, so they lived over the hill as well.
But they were Underhill.
Yeah.
That's
it's just
funny.
a name you're given, and it's like it's probably going to have irony associated with it at some point.
Yeah.
The name Underhill.
Yeah.
So.
Although Bilbo's doesn't really have any irony. Like, it's just like a, it's just more of a funny play on where Bag End is located, right?
Well, true. Yes. Yeah. That's true. It's not ironic.
Yeah, it's
case.
not ironic in
Yeah.
Frodo's case. But it's funny. I feel like I really don't like, ever since we watched that show with the Underwoods.
The House of Cards.
House of Cards, thank you. I've never liked any name that starts with under. Like, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then you just think about like an undertaker, and like, you think of things like underground and like under hills, and you're like, no thank you. Like, you think of dirt and worms and death and
Well, sorry to all of our listeners who have names to begin with.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sure you're all wonderful people. This is just me being prejudiced because of House of Cards people. Of the Underwoods.
Yeah, they are very creepy in that show. So sorry to anyone who has the last name Underwood. And like, I feel like the writers of that show probably owe you apologies.
They probably
because,
do.
You have a perfectly wonderful name, and they...
Is Carrie...
Oh, Carrie Underwood. Yeah. The singer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I take it all back. I love Carrie Underwood. Underwood's fine. Any name that starts with under is good by me.
Well, there you go. You got Carrie Underwood going for you. So
got Carrie Underwood going for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's like best friends with Greta. So,
BFFs.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, they totally. She totally saw Carrie Underwood one time at the grocery store years
one of the
ago.
benefits of living in Music City, USA. You run into celebrities at random places like Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shared a moment. I think the moment was Carrie Underwood looked at Greta with her little kids, at Whole Foods, and very kindly kind of gave her a look of pity and sympathy.
Here we are talking about pity again. Yeah. It was really funny because I was just come from the gym, so I was like a sweaty mess, and I had 3 wild kids with me, and here Carrie was just completely put together from head to toe, looking amazingly like drop dead gorgeous, like she'd just come from a photo shoot, but she was very kind.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway.
Well, so
Underwood, Underhill, good last names.
I mean, you're just like, those Underwoods on House of Cards weren't even real. So there you go, Underwood, all good. But we're talking about Underhills here.
We are talking about Underhills. Yeah. It's just funny. Like, you can tell Gandalf has clearly had this planned. Mm-hmm. He didn't just randomly. He was already thinking okay, we're gonna have to give Bilbo a different last name because Baggins isn't gonna cut it. Mm-hmm. So he had been thinking about this for a minute.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Now that we're talking about this, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like Gandalf could have done better.
Could have given, I was thinking about that too. I was like, this is a very non, it just doesn't seem like a very clever, but that might be the point.
It might be the point. Yeah, it might be. He might want it to be kind of generic and
yeah,
just not super flashy.
Yes. Instead of let's give you a incognito name. How about Mr. Not Baggins?
Unbaggins.
Non-Baggins.
Non-Baggins.
Yes.
Or maybe he could have been Tote or something. Totins instead of Baggins, right? Tote, bag, same thing. Or just think of other names for bags.
See, this is harder than you judged Gandalf, and now you immediately see how hard it is, right?
Yeah, it is. Or persons. Oh, that wouldn't work either. Never
yes.
Mind. Okay. All right, Gandalf. Well done. Hats off to you.
It would have been, maybe a, one of the funny names that we've already seen for that hobbits have, you just give them Proudfoot or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I maybe that's the thing, is I feel like Underhill doesn't feel very hobbitish to me. But again, maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it might be because it's a name that hasn't really come up before. And maybe just a thought, and I think I want to move on. But maybe he gives him this name that's Underhill because it's not like a complete fabrication of who he is, right? Because he is from under the hill, right? So if he were to give him a name that was a complete fabrication, maybe it would be a little too deceitful and like playing into the ring's power. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Possibly.
I probably am very much overthinking that, but hey, that's what we do on the show because we're taking one chapter, 11 episodes at a time.
Amen.
All right. So next we get Sam's interest, right? Gandalf encourages Frodo, like, really, you got to keep this quiet. Don't let anybody hear it. Be careful what you say, even to your closest friends. The enemy has spies everywhere. And then suddenly they realize, and this is funny as you build up to this, because if you've read this chapter multiple times, you detect the little bits of like, Sam has been outside like throughout the chapter, right? It's been noted at different times that Sam is like, they can hear Sam outside working, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, it's just like you glance over and you don't really like think about it. It's like, oh, Sam's outside working. It's like kind of nice, like ambience, right? But then suddenly Gandalf stops and like listens attentively, right? Frodo became aware that all was very quiet inside and outside. Gandalf crept to one side of the window. Then with a dart he sprang to the sill and thrust a long arm out and downwards. There was a squawk, and up came Sam Gamgee's curly head, hauled by one ear. Ow. Picking poor Sam up by his ear.
And Sam is not a small fellow.
I know. I'm like, can that rip his ear off? Goodness. Like, that's, I don't know. I mean, I guess the ears are fastened on there pretty well, but it's just like, it just seems like
durable.
A lot of weight for the ear to bear,
Yeah, cartilage is tough though.
Yeah.
I mean, it would hurt like the dickens, but I think you actually would have to slice an ear off. Yeah. I don't think just that extra tension is going to be enough. But it will definitely hurt and probably be sore for a few days. Yeah. Yeah. I would apply ice. Yeah.
So anyway, this is Sam's grand entrance. And he is surprised to have been hauled into the room this way. Of course, there's the humorous interchange between Gandalf and Sam about eavesdropping, right? There's no eaves at back end. How could I be eavesdropping, right? And Frodo just pleads, or Sam pleads with Frodo, like, don't let him hurt me, right? Do not let him hurt me. And the whole time, like, Frodo is a little bit like, this is kind of a funny little picture, and I think Frodo probably kind of like needed a laugh, right, after all of the like heaviness that's been laid on him in this chapter. And we get this from Sam. Well, sir, I heard a deal that I didn't rightly understand about an enemy and rings and Mr. Bilbo, sir, and dragons and a fiery mountain and elves, sir. I listened because I couldn't help myself, if you know what I mean. Lord bless me, sir, but I do love tales of that sort, and I believe them too, whatever Ted may say. Elves, sir, I would dearly love to see them. Couldn't you take me to see elves, sir, when you go? And so, Gandalf has put him down by this time and brings him in. Sam just loves elves, right? I mean, he's just fascinated by elves, and he loves these kinds of stories. So there was nothing malicious about him, like listening here. It was purely a function of him having a fascination with something, and he comes upon a conversation about it, and he just has to listen. Yeah, right? We've all been there.
Yeah, and here begins Tolkien's the amazing job he does of just completely endearing us to Sam.
Oh yeah,
like this is where it starts, right here, and you're just like, you just want to hug him. There's just, he has like this childlike wonder, and simplicity that's just really, really like just very like comforting and I mean, fun, but also just like refreshing in a way too.
Well, and this harkens back, of course, we've seen Sam once before so far in the story, and it harkens back, of course, to his like argument, or not even like, because Sam never really gets into an argument so much, but his kind of like run-in with Ted Sandyman, which happened, I think, at the beginning of this chapter, early on in this particular chapter, The Shadow of the Past. And you know, we see him there, and we gain a real appreciation for his, you know, like Ted is this just kind of like, you know, oh, you're such a dummy for believing, you know, in all these stories and everything like that. And Sam is more like, it's just kind of like, that doesn't really seem to bother him that much. He's just kind of like, well, why don't you like, I just think it's fascinating. And like, you can just tell Sam wants to live, like he wants to live in a world that is enchanted, right? That where there are elves.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
I think that's very cool.
I think that is a very endearing quality. So, and I know what else is endearing is that Sam gets really choked up when he hears Frodo is going away, right? So it says, so you know, Gandalf says, so you heard that Mr. Frodo is going away? He says, I did, sir, and that's why I choked, which you heard seemingly. I tried not to, sir, but it burst out of me. I was so upset. I mean, that's really sweet, right?
So
like he's so upset that Frodo is going to be going, like he hears this going on and he's like kind of trying to keep it working. And he hears that Frodo might be going away, and he's just like, and that's why he gets quiet, right? That's why he gets quiet. It's a really very sweet moment. And then Frodo turns around and threatens to turn him into or have Gandalf turn him into a spotted toad and fill the garden full of grass snakes. It's like, Frodo, come on. Like, this guy was just like basically saying how upset he was that you were going to be leaving.
Well, he just said that because as a way to kind of make sure, like, Sam understood
the gravity of
what he had heard, and you know, the importance of him not, you know, saying a thing to anybody.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it's like, but I mean, did you really need to threaten to have him turned into a little toad, or could you have just been like, hey, bro, really, you got to keep this quiet. Like, it's very important to keep it quiet.
I feel like this you know, this painted a good picture.
Got to put the fear of fire in him.
Fear of fire, fear of snakes, yeah.
Fear of being turned into a toad.
I kind of want to put this one in my back pocket to use, like, the next time I really feel like insulting someone. I'll just be like, I wish you would turn into a spotted toad in the
you got to put one of the kids in their place.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn you into a spotted toad and fill the garden full of grass snakes.
Yeah. I guess grass snakes eat toads? Is that...
I think so. I think grass snakes will eat whatever they can.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Whatever living critters they can.
Well, Frodo's just trying to make his point.
Yeah.
I think he succeeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sam falls on his knees trembling.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we have this moment, right? So, Gandalf says, I've thought of something better than that, right? Something to shut your mouth and punish you properly for listening. You shall go away with Mr. Frodo. And Sam is it says he springs up like a dog invited for a walk, right? I love that.
Again, there's just that simplicity, you know? Like, it's just the little things for Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just, he's a sweet character, you know, he, and it somehow for him, this all becomes like Frodo is just like, oh, why was I chosen? And Sam is like, hooray, I get to go on an adventure, you know, like I've always wanted to go on one of those. Right. Yep. And there's a way, like a personality trait there. That's like, he's not as worried and he's not anxious about the danger.
Well, he also doesn't know. He
knows some.
About the danger.
He knows some, right?
He does, but he doesn't know all that Frodo knows.
I heard a deal that I didn't rightly understand about an enemy and rings and Mr. Bilbo, sir, and dragons and a fiery mountain, right? So he heard about dragons, a fiery mountain, an enemy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so he knows. I mean, he's been listening. He's heard a good bit, right?
Right, but he says he doesn't understand, right? Like, he's heard all these things, but I don't know that he's put the pieces together. I don't know that he really has the same knowledge of what lies ahead that Frodo does.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't know about the ring. He doesn't know the power of the ring. Like, he has no idea what their mission is going to be. You know, and he has no idea that like all the danger and evil that's going to follow them. Which he may not know about the power of the rings, but but he heard dragons in there. Yeah, dragons. Right? Yeah. But I mean, dragons are dragons. Like, they're kind of cool. I mean, stay on their good side. They won't hurt you, right?
Yeah, but in this world, they're not like, there's not friendly dragons. You know,
That's true.
I don't think he would have heard any stories about like friendly dragons. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't know, but he said he also heard about Mr. Bilbo, so maybe he's thinking that, you know, some of this was what had happened, and like maybe it had already happened to Bilbo, you know? So I don't know. I just think that he's still like, it's still a little bit of like ignorance is bliss kind of here for Sam. I don't think he understands completely what they're up against.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I mean, I like to live my life under a rock, and I just count on you to tell me if I need to know something. So I'm all for ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So I can get on board the Sam train here, for sure. I'm already on it. But
Fair enough. Well, who isn't? I mean, who isn't on the Sam train? Come on.
I just meant the whole like wanting to live in
yeah
blissful ignorance. That's what I meant.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yes, I'm sure we all love Sam. There's nothing not to love about Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have reached the end of this chapter. Greta, any further thoughts for now?
Quick question. First of all, I love how this chapter ends. You know, where it says Sam shouted and then burst into tears.
Yep.
I think that's awesome.
Did he burst into tears out of joy?
That's
or was
exactly
it like
what I was going to ask. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I was going to ask. And I feel like it's probably a little bit of both. I think it's just like a sign of just the overwhelm, right? It's just an overwhelming joy that he's not going to have to say goodbye to his friend, right? But then also the overwhelm of the unknown, like, oh my goodness, what am I in for? And he's also probably, you know, still his ear probably really hurts. So, I mean, that's probably all the things.
My ear hurts on his behalf. Just think about it. Yeah.
But no, I just love the picture of Sam that's painted here. I think it's so good.
Yeah, it is. It is very well-rounded picture that of like kind of being introduced to Sam and the important role he'll play in the story, right? Because we didn't know that until now, right?
Yes.
If we're reading it for the first time.
Yep.
So good stuff. Well, any further thoughts on any final thoughts? Well, we do. So we do have we will have our Mathoms episode and our mailbag episode. So get your mail flowing in here in the next few weeks. We'll probably need to cut it off by let me look at my recording schedule here. So all right, so let's see, we need to cut off so try to get it in by mid-October is going to be our cutoff date for the mailbag for this one. So
do you want to give a particular date?
We'll just say October 15th.
Sounds good.
October 15th.
Almost smack dab right in the middle of October.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. All right. Well, so there's a lot more to say about it. There's lots in the Reader's Companion that we'll cover in the Mathoms episode, and we'll go over what the history of Middle Earth has to say about it, and pull out all the good nuggets and discuss those as well.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, the humorous way that Sam is drawn into Frodo's quest juxtaposes the existential weightiness of Frodo's chosenness, as we pondered in the last episode. I see so much wisdom in this simple literary arrangement. After all, how many of us are weighed down by the burdens of our everyday realities, the many difficulties we face, the dread of sorrows and dangers that lie before us? The truth is, life can drag us down, and that's why we need the lightness of a good laugh and the companionship of good friends to lift our spirits. In Sam, Frodo finds a fitting comrade, though he hardly knows it yet. And perhaps more importantly, he finds a friend who will be able to carry him through the more dreadful moments he is doomed to face.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider supporting us in one or all of the following ways. First, join the Fellowship of the Road by visiting patreon.com/Tolkien Road. When you join the Fellowship of the Road, it helps us to keep on evering on and lands you some cool perks along the way. Learn more at patreon.com/Tolkien Road.
Second, if you're watching, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what's on your mind in the comments below.
Finally, subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes or the platform of your choice. If you are a 5-star fan of Tolkien Road, you can really help us out by heading over to iTunes or your preferred source for the show and dropping us a rating and review. When you do that, it helps get the word out about the Tolkien Road, which helps us to keep on evering on.
As always, keep the correspondence coming. We'll do our best to respond to you somehow and at some point. With Do Not Be Hasty, we'll let the mail pile up and then do a big mailbag episode at the end of each chapter. While we can't promise you that your mail will be read on air, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so drop those comments and send those emails.
Finally, don't forget to stop by truemythspress.com for great merch like super stylin' and comfy Tolkien Road t-shirts, Two Trees camper mugs, and signed copies of John's books, Tolkien's Requiem and Tolkien's Overture. Once again, that's truemythspress.com. Thanks for supporting our work with your purchase.
To close, as always, we'd like to thank our amazing fellowship. We know all of you half as well as we should like, and we've thanked less than half of you half as well as you deserve. Special thanks to the following: John R.,
Caitlin of Tea with Tolkien,
KG,
Aaron Dill Hope,
Emilio P.,
Jonathan D.,
Richard K.,
Paul D.,
Julia,
Wordy,
Chris B.,
Tour 91,
Carolyn S.,
Emil K.,
Brian O. II,
Jonathan R.,
Matthew W.,
Daniel D.,
Harrison C.,
Jason C.,
Seb M.,
Wilbo Baggins,
Ms. Anonymous,
Andrew T.,
Red Hawk,
Shannon S.,
Brian O. I.,
Zeke F.,
James L.,
Chris L.,
Aja V.,
Ish of the Hammer,
Teresa C.,
David of Pints with Jack,
and Eric B.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all so much. And finally, thanks to all for watching and or listening. Until next time, the road goes ever on.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.